Joy is an emotion that's power is sometimes understated. Some would argue we do all that we do so that we can one day experience joy later down the line. It is the thing that gives life flavour, so to speak, and there is a breed of dragon, a rather small one at that would tend to agree. The Faerie dragon. Now, don't let their more unimposing name fool you. These dragons are quite capable, and in many ways very powerful. But it's not in the way most dragons are. Their scales are not tenfold shields, their teeth are not swords, nor are their claws spears. But they have something, like most dragons, that they fold to an insane degree. For they are the kings of magic. See, all dragons are natural sorcerers, and very powerful ones at that, but they are nothing when compared to the Faerie dragons. There is almost no spell they cannot learn, and they have a greater capacity to cast them than even the oldest of wizards. But to top off their incredible power, they are also incredibly resistant to magic. The older they are, the more extreme all of this is. Now, do not let me hype them up so much. Unlike most dragons, you can actually probably kill one with a single swing of a sword. And it does take quite a few years of age before they are so formidable. But, you know me, and you know my tales by now, I'm not usually one to talk of combat and power. I'm here to tell you what these beings are like. And so, I shall start with their personality, as it's what directly fed into their name. See, they are named after fairies because, like fairies, they are tiny tricksters who could do the world some good, but decide to do little more than pranks all day. They gave up glory purely for the sake of joy. And they are very indiscriminate on their victims too. It doesn't matter if you are a humanoid, fae, animal, or even another dragon. They are going to pull a prank on you at some point if they think they can get away with it. And given their name, you would expect them to be from the Feywild, or in some way a type of fae, but no, that is not the case. Well, I'm sure you can find them in the Feywild, in fact they're probably really common there, as well as you can really find them anywhere, but that's not actually where they are native, no. They are native to tropical environments. These are jungles and isolated islands, things that are considered close to untamable, which might say quite a bit about them actually. See, the thing you've got to know about fairy dragons is that they are extraordinarily friendly. They will go out of their way to help everyone that they can. They will tell jokes, laugh and sing with everyone that will accept their company. They will build trust with you over the years, and they will use this trust to betray you and prank you later. Now, they won't ever do anything sinister or malicious when they do this. They don't plan to kill you or ruin your life or anything. The worst they would ever do is break your heart, but you should really prepare for them to prank you at some point. In fact, this is maybe their biggest weakness, or rather their downfall. See, their magical power is immense, almost limitless really. They can learn almost any spell given enough time, and they can cast those spells more potently and regularly than anyone else. But they will never learn a spell for any practical reason. They do it purely for fun. Some of them are so petty that they will spend years learning a single spell, polymorph for example, purely for one single prank. And I actually have a story about that I'll get to later. I actually dread to think of what a fairy dragon would be capable of if they gained some ambition or were corrupted in some way. But as I said, they are resistant to all forms of magic, including corruption, so this is an unfounded fear, but it is an idea I tend to think about. But on the topic of greed, they do keep hoards like most dragons. You will find the usual coins and gems there, though nowhere near as many. But what they do want are things that are more playful. This is to the point where they might have actual children's toys within their hoards, or perhaps things like puzzle boxes, maybe a board game or two that they play with whatever friends they have. They might have something like some fancy clothing that has secret pockets within it, something they can play with or discover things about. But the only things that they're going to keep in their hoard that are actually expensive are things that they have stolen. but only if they are never caught. See, they get a kick out of watching people lose things. You know that feeling when you think you've lost something important, maybe a house key for example, and you're desperately searching around to find it? They find that absolutely hilarious, so they might actually steal something in order to make you look for it. If you realise it's stolen, they might find it even funnier, but as soon as you realise they stole it, all the fun is lost in an instant, to the point where they might give it back to you as soon as you find out. But if you want to gain the favour of a fairy dragon, or just get on their good side for whatever reason, then none of the things previously stated would be a good gift. No, the things they crave in this regard are baked goods. It is said that the sweet tooth of a fairy dragon is legend, and I've seen it firsthand. It very much is true. They delight in sweets and snacks, but have a special place in their hearts reserved for baked goods. They also have a people that they are most commonly found around and prefer to be with, and that's the gnomes. Maybe it's their ingenuity, combined with their equally playful nature. There's just something about the gnomes that really appeals to the fairy dragon. I theorise it is because they are both linked to the Fae in their origin, but are now distant enough to be classed as their own thing. That's something that really ties them together. That's just my theory, however. It's not that important, just something I'd point out. If you see a fairy dragon, it's usually because gnomes are nearby. But there is something quite fascinating and unique about their biology that I sort of hinted at earlier, so we'll get to it now. See, like most dragons, they get more powerful as they age. They are no exception to this, but their size barely changes at all. Instead, the colour of their scales changes. When they are born, they start a deep red. It gets brighter and turns to an orange. Then it becomes a yellow, then green, then blue, turning to an indigo, and finally a violet colour. So it's actually a good way to tell how powerful they are. There is one major exception, of course, and that's their wings, which take the shape, colour, and pattern of butterfly wings. Mostly white with blue trims or monarch-style butterflies, but truly you can find any type of butterfly wing on a fairy dragon. It's the only part of their body that really stays consistent in colour, and it really helps us tell them apart too. And lastly, they have a breath weapon, known as Euphoria Breath. And essentially what this does is overload you with joy and boggle the mind. It can take on a few forms and accidentally give you short-term memory loss, or force you to start laughing out loud, or make you just walk in random directions. Its effects are very slight, random, but definitely distracting. And they can be surprisingly scatterbrained at times. What I mean by that is that they don't really focus. They are quite intelligent, just unclear in their mind. I think it's more of an attention span thing. See, they could be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly hear a flute in the background and run over to ask its player 100 questions, only to run off again before getting the answers to them. To say that they move around a lot would be a bit of an understatement, and catching them in any way or form is going to be a difficult task. They are surprisingly dexterous and can be invisible all the time. And I mean all the time. I'm pretty sure this is a unique thing to all of them. They can just be invisible at any time of the day should they wish it. Right, well I do have a tale of a fairy dragon, and I think it's one worth telling. It is the tale of possibly the meanest prank I have ever seen. I truly feel sorry for the victim. His name was Avant, and he was a simple, humble town's guard. Unbeknownst to him, 2 fairy dragons were taking bets on whether it would be funnier to break as many hearts as possible, or completely devastate one. And unfortunately, he was their test subject. See, one of them, the tricksy Devzivity, wanted to make him fall in love with her. So she learned to polymorph over the span of a year, I might add, and disguised herself as a humble chambermaid, who just so happened to keep running into him. This went on for a little over a month, and eventually he caught feelings for her and confessed them, only for her to turn into a small dragon and start bursting out laughing at him. Truly a horrid prank that went off without a hitch. The dragon won her bet, as the other one thought it was absolutely hilarious, and Avant has never let himself love again. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I don't blame the poor man. It really was unfair what happened to him. Thank you for listening to my tales. I am the Ashspawn. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. But, till next you meet, fellow traveller, have a good day.